Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Dr. Rajeshwar from YR PharmaTube. In the previous videos, we discussed about anti-anginal agents. Hit the I button on top right of this video to watch them. For the other topics of medicinal chemistry, links are available in the description below this video. Watch them. In this lesson, we shall discuss the diuretics. The word diuretic has a Greek stem diu, which is meaning to urinate. Thus, a diuretic is defined as any substance that increases urine flow and thereby water excretion. In other words, diuretics are the drugs that increase the secretion of excess water and salt that accumulate in tissues and urine. This excretion leads to net loss or elimination of excess fluid and toxic products from the body by the urinary system. The most important indication for diuretics is the mobilization of edema fluid. Edema is swelling that is caused by fluid trapped by your body's tissues. Edema happens most often in the feet, ankles, and legs but can affect other parts of the body such as the face, hands, and abdomen. Kidney is the major excretory organ that promotes the excess of water and electrolytes in the body. Kidney is the major excretory organ of the body for many therapeutic agents and their metabolites. Any malfunction of the kidney may significantly affect the rate of excretion and consequently the duration of drug action or the extent of drug toxicity. Nephron is the kidney unit where urine is formed. The two main anatomical parts of nephron are glomerulus and tubules. Broadly, the segments of the renal tubule beginning from the glomerulus side are proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, distal convoluted tubule, and collecting tubule. The volume and composition of urine are determined by glomerular filtration, tubular reabsorption, and tubular secretion. But for proteins and substances bound to them, all other constituents appear in the glomerular filtrate. The majority of the excretory products are reabsorbed by the renal tubules. There is also secretion of some substances by the renal tubular cells into the tubular urine and thus elimination from the body. There are certain substances which undergo both reabsorption and secretion. The tubules normally reabsorb over 99% of the glomerular filtrate, the remaining less than 1% and the tubular secretions pass into the bladder and are voided as urine. The reabsorption of each constituent by the tubule is independent of the others. Development of diuretics. Paintings found in the ruins of Pompeii have depictions of grapes, ivy, olives, and sweet cherry. All of these have diuretic properties described in the writing of Pliny the Elder. A treatise published in 1788 by Joseph Pliny lists several hundred plants, of which 115 have diuretic properties, including garlic, Chinese lantern, saffron, fennel, licorice, and dandelion. Among the common natural compounds are methylxanthines such as caffeine, theophylline, and theobromine, which possess diuretic activity. It is to note that tolerance to the diuretic effect of xanthines may readily develop. Most active as a diuretic among the methylxanthines is theophylline. It has a pattern of excretion of water and electrolytes very similar to that produced by thiazide diuretics. The diuresis induced by theophylline probably results from an increase in renal blood flow and glomerular filtration rate. The first major breakthrough in diuretics came in 1919 when Vogel, a third-year medical student at the University of Vienna, discovered by accident that organomercurial, that is merbafen, greatly stimulate elimination of water. This he observed while treating a woman suffering from syphilis with the drug merbafen. But merbafen could not be used to treat edema because it is too toxic. However, the clue was followed up by scientists to develop better organomercurial diuretics. The field was investigated very actively between 1919 and 1960s. The first successful drug mersallyl, which is a sodium salt of mersallyl acid, which was introduced in 1924. This led to the development of a large number of other organomercurial diuretics, but they are no longer used because of their toxicity. Later, a considerable progress was made in reducing toxicity and irritation at the site of injection. However, most mercurial diuretics are effective only when given parenterally. This factor and the toxicity usually associated with organomercurials prompted search for non-toxic, orally active non-mercurial diuretics. The most important category of drugs which fulfilled these conditions proved to be the sulfonamides and related compounds. In 1937, Southworth realized that patients treated with the antibiotic sulfanilamide not only breathed deeply but also produced an alkaline urine with increased sodium and water excretion. The sulfonamides, originally developed as diuretics, were active carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Sulfanilamide was found to be a carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, and by 1949, Squarge had successfully treated congestive heart failure patients with sulfanilamide. Carl Bayer, having heard of Squarge's clinical success, began searching for and testing a range of sulfanilamide-like agents on animals. Substitution of a carboxy group for the aromatic amino group of sulfanilamide generated carboxybenzene sulfonamide, which is also a carbonic anhydrase inhibitor that increased sodium and chloride excretion. Introducing a second sulfoamyl group meta to the first was found to increase potency, and exploration of substituted disulfamyl benzene analogues finally led to the discovery of chlorothiazide, the first thiazide diuretic. It was because the original compounds were benzothiazidine derivatives that this class of diuretics became known as thiazide diuretics. Later, compounds that were pharmacologically similar to thiazide diuretics but were not thiazides appeared and acquired the name thiazide-like diuretics, many being heterocyclic compounds like metolazone. Other options during this period were osmotic diuretics like urea, mannitol, and sucrose, acidifying salts such as ammonium chloride, xanthine derivatives, and digoxin, which has a diuretic effect in addition to its inotropic effect. The British National Formulary currently lists 15 individual diuretics available for use in the UK, but the original one, chlorothiazide, is not among them, although its derivatives hydrochlorothiazide and benzothiazide do feature in combination preparations. They are grouped into familiar categories such as thiazide diuretics, loop diuretics, which are also known as high ceiling diuretics, potassium sparing, osmotic, and carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Classification of diuretics. A large number of chemically related compounds exhibit diuretic effects. According to the structure, occurrence, and proposed mechanism of action, diuretics are classified into 8 groups. Number 1. High ceiling or loop diuretics. Depending on the moiety present in the structure, they are known as sulfoamyl derivatives, and the drugs include bumetanide, ethacrynic acid, furosemide, and torsemide. Number 2. Thiazides and thiazide-like diuretics. They are of benzothiazidines, which are thiazide-containing compounds. Benzothiazidines include chlorothiazide, hydrochlorothiazide, benzothiazide, hydroflumethiazide, methiclothiazide, and clopamide. Thiazide-like compounds include chlorthalidone, metolazone, zipamide, and indapamide. Number 3. Potassium-sparing diuretics. These include aldosterone antagonist spironolactone and inhibitors of renal epithelial sodium channel such as triamterene and amyloride. Number 4. Calcium-sparing diuretics. The thiazide and potassium-sparing diuretics are considered to be calcium-sparing diuretics. Number 5. Carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. These drugs inhibit the activity of carbonic anhydrase enzyme, and this can be achieved by the administration of acetazolamide, methazolamide, and dichlorofenamide. Number 6. Osmotic or luminol diuretics. These drugs increase the osmolarity but have limited permeability. They are glycerin, isosorbide, mannitol, and urea. Number 7. Low ceiling diuretics. They are the drugs that flattening dose effect curve in contrast to high ceiling diuretics, for example, thiazides. And number 8, the over the counter drugs xanthine derivatives, which include theophylline, theobromine, and caffeine. All the diuretics either stimulate or inhibit various hormones that naturally occur in the body to regulate urine production by the kidneys. Diuretics are among the most commonly used drugs, and the majority act by reducing sodium chloride reabsorption at different sites in the nephron, thereby increasing urinary sodium and consequently water loss. Diuretics are used in the treatment of heart failure or in hepatic, renal, or pulmonary disease when salt and water retention has resulted in edema or ascites. They are used alone or in combination with antihypertensive agents in the treatment of high blood pressure. This is the list of references followed for the lesson. That's all in this video, an introduction to diuretics. In the next lesson, we will discuss the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, a class of diuretics. Till then, never stop learning and never stop watching my videos. Thank you for watching this video.